head into the theater and the usher nods me in. They know me here. I descend down the staircase behind the movie screen that only select people know about. The door at the bottom opens and I walk in. The sound of movie spoilers fill the air. The barkeep has my drink ready and motions me to the back. The rest of the crew are here already. This is my type of place, and these are my type of people. Join me as we discuss the inner secrets of cinema. Have a seat in the spoiler room.
I know you didn't just shit in that son of a bitch.
Well, we'll start this proper, and we can just keep talking. So,
I hope you start this with him saying that line. I hope that's how this starts.
You know, it's pretty loose. You could almost include any of this.
We'll just roll with it. Dude. Yeah, fine. I don't know. I just started recording at some point.
Just shit in that son of a bitch. That's so good, dude.
I've never been a huge fan of the Jackass films, but
I can be enough of a fan for you and a few other people too.
I can't breathe when those movies are on. I'm laughing too fucking hard.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan. My friends tried to get me into them, and I like any. I said, Henry Rollins thinks they're okay, so I'll check them out. And they took me, even though I can't see 3D, they took me to the 3D one.
That was some of the best 3D still in the theaters ever. It was shot with the Panavision Genesis.
And every now and then I would kind of like chuckle a little bit, but then I'd just like stop. And I was like, and they'd say like, "What'd you think?" I'm like, it was all right. It's still not my thing. I kind of just feel like I've been watching YouTube clips for an hour and a half, And they asked if any of the parts grossed me out. And remember, I only saw the third one. If any of the parts grossed me out, and I said, yeah, the sweatsuit.
Oh, dude, you got to see Fart Helmet.
The sweatsuit. was the one bit where they actually saw me turn my head away, and went, "Oh, I gotta like turn away from this shit."
Fart Helmet's the worst.
Fart Helmet?
Yeah, dude. He I don't remember who wore it, but they put a like a hose into like a old school fishbowl.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen the clip.
Yeah,
because my friends, even though they couldn't get me to watch the movies all the way through, they just start to like fire up the clips when I was over.
Yeah. It's got to be Steve-O because he pukes inside it, so it's probably Steve.
Oh yeah, they're like, "Hey, watch this. I'm gonna piss Scotty off." They just like start him up.
We're talking about YouTube. I always look up videos of people throwing up on YouTube. That's like the funniest thing to me.
Oh, I know. I got my fill of throw up from the Vomit Doll trilogies. So thank you, Derek.
It's different than that.
Why are you thanking me? What do we have to do with this, Mark?
Because you got them on your Plex, and so they were available, so I had to watch them.
I saw the first one.
Okay, all right. I can take some blame for the fourth one because we watched that for a bonus episode.
Yes, we watched the fourth one, which he went to me like, "Hey, Mark, you want to watch the fourth one?" I'm like, "There's a fourth one?"
I think I have a video, a review of the first one somewhere. Like when I was doing that, yeah, there it is. 31 Days of Horror. I was doing it for your thing.
You're not missing anything by not seeing Vomit Gore 4. What was it? The Black Mass of the Nazi Sex Wizard?
Yes.
I can't believe I remembered that title.
Pretty great title.
Yes,
it's not a good name.
on my scale, I labeled Slaughtered Vomit Dolls disappointing.
The understatement of the
I was mildly disappointed.
I just saw that. I mean, this is my first time looking at the review in like how many years. I see disappointing. I'm like,
there was just not enough corn. I was hoping for more corn.
It was October 2nd, 2014.
Carrots.
I think the proper review for any of them would be,
Yeah, I think I'm like going on to say that the director I liked Black Metal Veins, but that this was. It's like it says. Let's say, in short, this is a film that's not meant to be watched from beginning to end with the audience's attention glued to the screen.
Here's the thing with that film, which surprised the hell out of me, and I've had this conversation with Derek, was one thing that caught me, though, with that film, especially the first one, was actually how good the practical gore effects were. Not the vomit part, but the gore effects, like the the cutting off the arms and stuff. Like the actual practical gore effects in those films look really freaking good and better than
that's
some,
because you know who did that, right?
Was that Mills?
No, Marcus Koch, who did all the American Guinea Pig stuff and the 100 Tears and all that. Yeah, he does all that stuff. That's him.
Yeah. Steve Bureau's been doing those American Guinea Pig films, and
they're terrible. The three that I've seen are terrible.
And I know Steve, and he was the one who was initially showing me the gore stuff, and I was just like, "What do you think of this?" I said, "I think people are going to throw up." Really, you think so? He was all excited.
Isn't that special?
I think I was invited off to the set to try to do something for the first one. What was it? Bouquet of Blood and Gore, and I think that it was Jim Van Bever doing the effects on that, or at least helping out.
Oh, it was Marcus Koch. He did
on that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And I know Van Bever was there in some capacity, even if it was just sitting in the corner drinking.
I believe he was the DP. I think Van Bever was the DP.
Yeah, and so I was invited. I didn't get around to it. And he's like, what do you think? I said, Steve, we like each other a lot, but you know that that's not my speed. But I'm really glad they're a success. So good for you, buddy. But no, I'm not watching them. And I'm not saying that they're probably terrible movies or anything. I wouldn't know. I mean, I would not be able to give them a fair shake. It's just not my thing.
Well, Mark and I watched a real humdinger the other night.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Atlantic Rim 3.
No, it was one of those American Guinea Pig movies.
Rim.
What, Andrew?
Just laughing at the word rim.
Oh, Rim. He said Rim.
Yeah,
no, my
grandparents
had a friend named Dave Rimmer.
That.
Wow.
Right?
That's good if you're into porn or Red Dwarf. But anyway,
I was gonna say that could be fitting for either one.
But
I hardly know her.
There was on the last riff tracks they did of Kroll that you refused to go to, Mark.
Yes, I did.
You went?
No, I refused to go to. Yes,
I have a good story to follow this up. So I'm going to let you say this, but I got something that's gonna blow the socks off you guys. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna say it real quick. Then they have these little things before the show where they're kind of like the joke trivia things of before the movies because but they're like joke things written by the riff tracks people. Like this is something you didn't know about movies and stuff like this, and it'll be some joke. One of the things that made me think of you, I even took a picture of it, but I forgot to send it to you, Mark. It said, Atlantic Rim is the exact same thing as Pacific Rim, except 3 hours later.
Oh, my gosh.
Pacific Rim.
Oh, my gosh. So we were flipping through Amazon Prime one day, the girls and me, and we came across Kroll on there. And
it's not good.
And they're looking at the cover and they're going, "What is that, Dad?" I'm like, "That's Kroll. That's but what is that on the cover?" And they're obviously talking about the glaive. And I'm like, "Well, that's the main weapon of the main good guy." And my daughter looks at me and goes, "So he uses a fidget spinner as a weapon?"
Yup.
And I shit myself. I was laughing so goddamn hard I couldn't even breathe.
That was the first thing when I saw fidget spinners. I'm like, holy crap.
It's a glaive. I know, a glaive.
I can put blades on this and I can make it a weapon. Yes.
Fucking nerds.
But in all seriousness, Mark, Kroll is not and I'm the guy who will sing the praises of Space Hunter until I'm blue in the face, but Kroll is not that good.
Okay, well, we could agree to disagree, Mr. Vice Academy.
Oh, that cut a little deep. That was, I think Mark's trying to cut a promo on your ass.
Fair enough.
Well, it's my episode 200, though. Whatever. It's just going to look like it may just be us. Glenn, unfortunately, is not going to be able to make it.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, he's stuck at work and that, so.
And he couldn't get the rig up.
Yeah, I think he's too busy. No, I don't think Glenn has a problem with getting his rig up.
I don't think he does either. But
can we please not talk about his
motherfucker's not even
issues?
here, man.
What? Talk about his rig while he's not here? I'll let him know we talked about his rig.
No, but I know he was going to try to hook something up at work, though.
But I thank you guys for making it for this 200th episode. So this is kind of cool. Just shooting the shit. Yeah, I had actually not a whole lot of plans outside of possibly you bringing a movie, and I know how Andrew felt about this, but bringing a movie that made you so angry and made you want to punch someone in the dick, and that's because it's from episode 100.
Why the dick, Mark? Why the dick?
Well, that's what it was mentioned in episode 100 when we were talking about, because Brad, who is still going to try to make it tonight if he can, Brad mentioned on how Lucy had made him so, well, not Lucy itself, but the concept of people only use 10% of their brain made him so angry he wanted to punch someone in the dick.
Nerds! Nerds!
No,
Robert Carradine's in here.
and then Doc, who also is either going to try to make it tonight or record something for the episode. Doc, he sat there, goes, "Hey, that's the episode for episode 200. Movies that make you so mad you want to punch someone in the dick." But you don't have to do that. You don't have to bring up a movie that makes you want to punch someone in the genitals. That's fine.
I kind of have one.
Oh, I didn't even have to think about it. It popped in my head. It's immediately the moment Mark said something.
Yeah, what was the movie? No.
Wait, what did you just say?
Vice Academy?
Nah.
Puppet Master?
Nah.
Not Howling 7, I know that. So
I just watched that recently.
Tell us what you said, Derek. What was the movie that made you so angry? You want to punch someone in the genitals.
Let's close our eyes and enter the world of imagination, folks. Let's take a step back in time. We had this little-known director named Rob Zombie who had said for years upon years upon years, "I will never make any remakes. Never, ever, ever make any remakes." Then somebody flashed a whole shitload of cash, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll make Halloween." And I watched it. Everyone hated it, and I actually kind of liked it. And I was like, they're making a sequel. I'm going to go to the midnight screening of that.
Ooh, nice.
So I go to the midnight screening of Halloween 2, or H2 as they were, touting it. And I go in there, and I start watching it. And I don't know if you guys remember exactly, because I'm sure most everyone's bleached their brains out of this fucking movie. The whole beginning is like a remake of Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Then they pull the rug out and say, "Nah, it's just a dream."
Yep.
At that point, I'm like, "Fuck you!" Then some cow, they hit, the way that fucking Michael Myers gets out is the people transporting him hit a cow, and a guy that's almost gutted because of the accident says "fuck" for 3 minutes straight. And then Michael Myers kills him, and then he proceeds to just wander about in the middle of fucking nowhere through fields for like a half hour. I walked out of that movie. I mean, a lot of people dogged that movie because, it had the really weak symbolism of, his mom and the white horse and all this. That stuff didn't bother me at all. That movie was weak as shit. It was just weak as shit. And I remember walking out of there madder than I'd ever been at paying money to go see a movie. That movie, I don't know if I think I've tried to revisit it once, and I still was like, yeah, this movie just fucking sucks. This is just a pile of horse shit. There's some good stuff in it. Like, I like Michael McDowell's The angle they took with Malcolm McDowell's character with Loomis, I think that's pretty actually fairly realistic as to what would probably happen with that character. But other than that, what a pile of horseshit. I was so fucking pissed off. To this day, when I hear people like defend that movie, I'm like, you're full of shit. You can't honestly feel that way. You just, I don't believe you. I'll
say this though, dude. The making ofs on both of the Halloween Blu-rays are pretty great.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. 100%.
I don't think the movies are that great, but like the making ofs, I really like. I actually sit and watch those sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's rare, other than outside of like Trauma and Lloyd Kaufman's documentaries he does for his movies, that you see that bare of a depiction of not only quote unquote an auteur, somebody that's helming this stuff, and that is the figurehead for these movies, kind of being a dick to everyone. You don't see that often, so it's kind of. I actually agree with you. I think those are much better than either of the two movies.
Well, they always want to try to paint them in a positive light, usually, and so you don't see what really goes on in some of those behind the scenes stuff. Everybody's like playing to the camera, so.
Yeah, and or the studio gets the lawyers in there, and
yeah,
you can't show that. You can't show that. That's why you get commentaries where parts are bleeped out and such. And yeah, but no, I'm mostly agreeing with Derek on that one. Because I also went to see the Rob Zombie's first Halloween, and I was skeptical. I said, "Oh, I'll give him a shot because he has done good movies." And I know he's a big fan of horror and stuff, but we'll see it. And I left there. I was shocked. I actually loved the first Halloween that he did. Now, what I would think of it today, I have to revisit it, honestly. It's been way too long since I saw it. But when I first saw that, holy cow, I was over the moon for that. And I said, this is brilliant. Don't think it's better or worse. I think you should put it side by side with the other movies. Halloween 2, I was really excited about for it. And I was doing Film Geek Central at the time, the first podcast I did with my buddy Austin Kennedy, and I went and I my friends met me at the theater for the movie, and they could tell right at the beginning. They just look over at me and they just see me shaking my head. I'm like, nope, nope. Like everything, it was like more extreme than the first, and it just felt. My thing was that I didn't like was that so much of it just felt like a crappy retread slasher. One of the things I give credit for the movie, I don't think it's good. I don't think the movie is good. One thing I will give credit for is the symbolism and everything, and I'm like, I give him credit. He made the most depressing fucking slasher movie I've ever seen. That is a very depressing movie. Nobody gets out okay, and like especially like with characters that I really like Daniel Harris's character and everything. I'm like, oh man, come on, did we even need to go there? And it was it was a very depressing movie, but it was also, I'm like, there are parts of this movie that are really ballsy, where he said, if I'm going to be the one, because originally I guess he did the movie because he knew otherwise somebody else would.
Which I don't quite understand.
He said somebody
the reasoning behind that.
It was Dimension. Yeah, they'd get somebody. They'd get some guy they could get cheap to do it. And he probably saw. He probably saw it. He probably says, well, let's try something. And I will give him this. He tried something with all that weird downbeat symbolism thing. But that was like part of the movie. And the other part was this thing you were talking about, Derek, where it just felt like this cheap, crappy retread. And that was the part more than anything where I was like, ugh, get me. It was one of those movies where I really wanted to get up and leave. I really wanted to get up and leave. And I agree with you on Malcolm McDowell. He was good in the movie, but again, I wish they would have just left it at one movie because I love his arc in the original Halloween. Well, Rob Zombie's original Halloween, where at the end he kind of realizes he's confronted with his own predatory style nature, and he says at the end, "I failed you, Michael." And I liked that. That was a good way to end it. and then he gets attacked and stuff, and you don't know what happens to him for sure. But no, they kind of just, it was. I'm babbling, but yeah, I'm mostly in agreement with Derek. I think Rob Zombie gets credit for trying something new there in some spots, but in other parts, he obviously didn't give a shit. So, yeah.
Andrew, were you disappointed with the Halloween 2 Rob Zombie, or did you not care for either?
I'm trying to remember. I know I went out to see it. I went out to see everything that he did. Because, I'm like, I feel like he's a horror geek, but he also is a good artist. Like I always, even when I saw White Zombie and concert, a friend of mine took me to, because he knew I would appreciate all the imagery on stage, you know what I'm saying? Like all the stuff, and there's he was like, yeah, the lyrics of this song are about this movie, and I'm like, all he keeps saying is meow, so I don't I don't really get those lyrics, but it's
something about monsters and cars. That's all you need to know.
It was just really, really super white, and I didn't appreciate that, but I did enjoy all the so yeah, I saw all of them. Let me see. I remember being with it up until it weirdly just started to straight copy the old Halloween at one point. Like it stopped, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the remake.
Yeah.
Where it's just a sped up version of the original movie.
It was weird. I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of the way I feel about cover songs. It's like, if you're not going to go exactly, then go off in your own direction and maybe stay there. That's what I usually like best about remakes too. But I'm still with him. I mean, his movies aren't, even the worst ones aren't as bad as his fans are. So I think that I feel the same way about Kevin Smith. It's like they always slam Jersey Girl. I'm like, really? Jersey Girl's not as lame as you are.
Holy shit, man. Going back to Kevin Smith's movies, I just rewatched it was on Amazon Prime, Silent Bob, or Jane Silent Bob
Strikes Back.
Holy shit, is that a pile of fucking trash? That is garbage.
I was gonna say I don't revisit any of the. Yeah, no. My favorite Rob Zombie, definitely hands down, the Lords of Salem and Kevin Smith. I really enjoy the Tusk and what was that? Red State.
Red State. Yeah, Red State and Tusk. Yeah, those two I really enjoyed.
Yeah, weirdly, I'm on board with the weird, human centipede-ish horror thing. I was like, name a director that just just said fuck you to everything they'd done, and just, you know what I'm saying?
That's what I appreciated with it, especially with Tusk, because after I saw Tusk, I'm like, that was pretty cool. One, I enjoyed the movie because it was just twisted, but two, I was like, that's actually pretty cool. This director who went from indie to being, a big deal for a while, went and made this film that is not going to be a commercial film that he based off of his podcast.
Right. Well, even think back. What was the big criticism of Kevin Smith early in the day was, well, he can write funny dialogue, but he's not a director. It was always the thing I said. He's a really static, boring director. And then he does Red State, does the greatest thing where he sells the rights to himself, which everybody got pissed off at, and I thought, that is fucking punk. I love it.
This Rob Zombie keeps...
And he did that, and then he did Tusk, which, as you say, he just did it off right off the podcast. Personally, I still can't make it through Tusk. But the stuff he's been doing lately, he proved with these movies, though, I think, oh no, he can direct. He actually has a pretty good eye and a pretty good sense of pacing and everything like that. So I think he's good.
I just don't want to see any more of those potty mouth rednecks or talky bad guys ever from Rob Zombie. The same way
I'll be honest with you. I don't really care about the new. Oh, we're doing a second Devil's Rejects. I'm like, you mean the third House of a Thousand Corpses? First of all,
why don't they just call it "Give Me Money, Mouth Breathers"?
I know that's what I have no real interest in it. I'm like, I thought I figured pretty definitively they ended the movie when they did Devil's Rejects. To me, 31 just felt like a retread. So, and I'm not like
The worst one.
I don't really want to like whine about this because then I start sounding like one of the fanboys and such. But it's like, I know,
No, just kidding.
but it's like I know he can do better because I've seen him do better. I thought House of a Thousand Corpses was great. As I said, the original Halloween, his version of Halloween that he did, I thought was great. The first one, Lords of Salem, I'm right there with you, Andrew. No one likes that. I think it's brilliant. I love Lords of Salem.
Well,
I'm
makes
a
his
huge
other
fan
stuff
of that movie.
Yeah,
I love it too.
It makes you mad when you see him go back to the well because you're like, well, wait, dude.
He followed up Lords of Salem with 31, didn't he? I'm like, God
Yeah.
damn, come on,
that
really?
was a letdown right there. I thought, yeah, okay.
And apparently that was the one that was like funded by through Kickstarter or something. 31.
Which
I'm like,
one?
well,
31? Yeah,
I'm
31.
like, if you've got the funding yourself, that means you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Do some fan service was what I thought he was doing.
And that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I really dug. I love Lords of Salem. Actually, it felt like one where he actually was trying to make a film that was his, not open to anyone. It really just felt like a film that he wanted to make this story and express himself, and didn't really care how it was going to be received either way. Versus 31 and
I like that cartoon that he did, Super Beast.
Super Beast
Oh,
Super
Super
Beast
Beast.
was fun. Yeah, I like
I
that.
could not make it through that movie.
oh,
I
really?
liked it.
Oh, I could not. It just didn't ring to me at all. It just didn't.
I thought it was fun. I mean, it's not a classic by any stretch, but I had fun with it for 90 minutes. I liked that they did the whole joke at the end. Why did they have to rip off Carrie? I liked that. I liked even the little bits where the minion is in the elevator with the old guy trying to do small talk. I liked that.
It was kind of like Ralph Bakshi, like a little bit. I thought,
Yeah.
a little like Coonskin or something.
Yeah.
Why I'm looking forward to the next Devil Rejects movie is one simple reason. I'm going to go to see it for, even if it's a bit part, for Bill Oberst Jr. I really like him. He's an indie film actor.
He's a nice guy, yeah.
Got to interview him. I really like him acting, and the fact that he's going to be in a big film like this. I'm going to watch it for him.
Well, I always like the cast that he picks. He always picks like horror and cult film people.
Yeah.
You just wish he'd give him something better to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, like Captain Spaulding, and in all honesty, for me, for House of a Thousand Corpses, I enjoyed it the best. I enjoyed the Captain Spaulding part the best. When it actually got into the house part, I was like, okay. Like, yeah, all right. Mm-hmm. I still liked it, but I enjoyed the first act or first half of that film more so than the second half of House of a Thousand Corpses. Like for me, it's like, I think what got me with that was, and I know some people like it, but there's the extraordinarily overlong tracking shot as we wait for him to shoot the guy. And that's one of those where I was sitting there at the one point just going, are you ever going to shoot him?
Did you see it in the theater?
No, I did not. I rented
that was excruciting in the theater.
See, I didn't mind that. I found the Freebird scene to be excruciating.
Yes,
yeah.
The downfall of that film. That is I actually, when I walked, that's another experience where I walked out of the theater and the guy I went with was just like, that was pretty good. I'm like, that ending was some bullshit though, right?
Yeah, it was.
That was some real bullshit.
Yeah,
it was like real, like literal fart smelling.
Yeah, it was terrible. That ending is literally is my least favorite ending of all time.
Yeah,
wow.
That wasn't really a great ending at all. Could have gone so many other ways with it, and they didn't. But so that's Derek's movie. Now, Andrew, I know you don't like going around punching people in dicks, but did you have a movie like that was just so extraordinarily disappointing for you at all? I know you don't hate on films usually either, but
Well, I just said some things I didn't like. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Well, no, I know you did. No, but I was just wondering if there's another film besides. So, if there was one in particular that you kind of were looking forward to, but maybe was very extraordinarily disappointing for you.
You'll have to come back to me. I'll think about it. You'll have to come back to me.
Scotty, how about you?
Well, I had
so mad.
I had a few things, honestly.
Sure. Well,
and first of all, like, it's not so much disappointing. That's not how I kind of read it. You just said things that make you so mad you want to punch somebody in the dick.
Well, I put it that way to Andrew because I know Andrew doesn't.
And I was kind of like, well, that was like kind of like the thing that was like in like the original thing. I'm like, okay, what movie really made me angry? I'm middle aged now. Not a whole lot makes me angry. I kind of like, I'm kind of like believe like the Rollins thing, when your range of emotions kind of diminishes a bit when you get older.
Yeah,
it's like
true.
where you're like your range of emotions when you're 20 is like yay and now once you turn 40 it's like but so I'm kind of believing that. But there's one thing I said was like, well, I know I get really pissed off when I see kind of hate propaganda done in like so-called faith-based things that are actually like political propaganda, but I'm not going to go into those because I don't want this to turn into one of those shows. So as a favor to Mark and everybody else, I won't even go into that.
I appreciate that.
There you go. It's like, because I can even tell him, he's like, oh no, but no, it's not going to do that. And so when I first heard about it, I'm like, okay, well, I know what I think is the worst movie. My personal pick for my worst movie. And I just immediately went to my old Film Geek Central buddies. I'm like, can you remember anything I saw that really just, pissed me off? Movies that really pissed me off because my memory is not what it used to be. And, one guy says, you really hated Midnight Madness. I'm like, yeah, that's true. I really did hate Midnight Madness. That really pissed me off. And you really hated Gone Girl. I'm like, yep, oh shit, did I ever fucking hate Gone Girl?
Oh, did you really hate Gone Girl?
Gone Girl pissed me off because everybody like is like just like blowing each other over this movie, saying, oh, it's so brilliant. There is nothing in that movie that separates it from a Lifetime or Hallmark Channel mystery movie. There is nothing. Nothing.
The bloody bedroom scene. So
who cares?
No, I'm just saying you don't see that in Hallmark.
Spoilers, Mark.
So it's got something that's
a break. What's the name of the show?
So Doogie gets Hauser.
I haven't seen it. You ruined it for me, Mark. I'm out of here. Rage quit.
It's I mean, like, who cares? It's like got one thing to make it bloody, big whoop-de-doo. As far as like the twist and everything, the movie was total BS, and it's people. I mean, as soon as people started loving David Fincher, is like this wasn't planned, but it's around the same time that I started disliking his movies. Right around the time Benjamin Button came out, everybody's like, "Ooh, he's so good." I'm like, "Oh,
my kid hates that movie."
What?
My kid hates that movie.
Well, your kid is right. Your kid has got a very good head on his shoulders.
Yes, he does. Better than his father.
But like, because like he started doing stuff like that, like, and I'm like, Benjamin Button. I'm like, why did he do this? Damn, he just did like cool stuff like, Zodiac and Seven and everything like that. And why did he just do this? This Forrest Gump movie, which could have been good, but it isn't. Then he followed up with, I don't give a shit about the Facebook guy. And then remake of Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, who cares? And then Gone Girl, and who gives a crap? And I hated Gone Girl. That's one of my biggies. So that's one of my biggies, but I was also just going to talk about my pick for my worst movie of all time, even though I'm probably sure nobody else here saw it. Which is... I mean, it's not like it's a hard to find movie. It's actually really well known, but it's just older, and I'm sure it's not in a lot of people's wheelhouse here. But whenever anybody asks me, well, what's your worst movie? I just have a stock answer. I just say Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band from 1978.
Wow.
Did you ever see this?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so I mean, I don't care.
Andrew, have you seen it?
Yeah.
I don't care if you're a huge Beatles fan or not, and I love 70s kitsch. I love 70s kitsch. People say like, wow, how did a crazy, stupid musical like The Apple get made? I'm like, The Apple makes total sense when you think that movies like Sgt. Pepper were being released. And in fact, The Apple plays like fucking Grease compared to Sgt. Pepper. It's a movie for the listeners out there where, and to be fair, at this point, the album was only a little over 10 years old, but it was already a classic. And they had the rights to these Beatles songs, but not the original orchestrations. And so the guy who actually did Grease, who is like the part of the Casablanca Records thing, did, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's what happened here, said we're going to make a movie based on Sgt. Pepper because that was a concept album. But it's a very loose concept album. But we're going to do a musical, and it's going to be a crazy adventure musical, all done with Beatles music. You know what? Fine. You can do that. Okay. And then they hire for the group, they hire Peter Frampton, who I'm not a huge fan of, and the Bee Gees, who I'm also not a fan of. I like a little more than when I first saw the movie, because I've grown to appreciate them a little bit more, but I'm not a huge fan of them either. And they said, and we're going to have lots of guest stars and everything, and people are going to be in this movie. And some of these guest people that they have in the movie are really good. You've got like Alice Cooper showing up. He's really good, you know. You've got some really cool stuff, you know. Earth, Wind, and Fire shows up. Billy Preston, you know, from the Beatles' heyday, you know, he shows up. And the plot is like non-existent. Every orchestration is just terrible. There's no skill in the direction, which is crazy because it's done by Michael Schultz, who did things like Car Wash and stuff like that, who he knew how to direct. In fact, he actually would eventually do a really fun, stupid, goofy musical, The Last Dragon, a few years later, which I think is a fantastic movie. But he does this thing, and all the orchestration is bad. None of the direction is good. There's no characters to get behind. And you just sat there looking at every single scene, wondering, what were they thinking? This is just like bad all the way through. Steve Martin has his first on-screen performance. He always says it's the Muppet movie. It's not. It's this. There's a reason why he says it's another movie besides this. And he plays a mad scientist, and he sings Maxwell's Silver Hammer with a backup of a bunch of lasers and some dancing chorus boys in some very tight-fitting Boy Scout outfits. And you're looking at this and like, this is goofy, this is stupid, this is wrong, it's borderline offensive, and yet it's still probably the best scene in the movie. I hate Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and I love movies like this usually. This is coming from somebody where all these would ordinarily be pluses for me, but I mean, I have seen Xanadu more times than you can imagine, but this is just horrible. I hate this movie. And so we can talk about that or Gone Girl, whatever you want.
Wow. So how do you truly feel about this? Andrew, how did you feel about Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band movie?
I don't think I finished it. I mean, I was just out of curiosity, more than anything, because I'd never seen it, But
Derek?
I can remember like thinking, I wonder if Beatles fans, were pissed about that, because it was like, what I mean?
They were writing furiously on their pads of paper and sending them into their favorite Beatles magazine, because you didn't have the internet back then. So they
No, but I
couldn't
imagine
page.
they were pretty pissed off. But and I have to remind myself that even though Beatles were already legends, it was still fairly. I mean, it's not like an ensconced, 50-year-old album classic legend. It was like the album was like a little over 10 years old.
Sure, yeah.
So it was kind of like probably how pissed that I was when they turned American Idiot into a Broadway musical.
Derek, how about you? You're a music guy. What'd you think of Sgt. Pepper's?
I'm in the same boat that Andrew is. I don't think I ever finished that movie.
Really?
This is probably going to be blasphemy, but I don't give a fuck. I hate the Beatles. I think it's the most basic bitch band on the face of the planet.
Wow.
It's been played out for me. When I hear people talk about the Beatles, I tune out. When I hear the Beatles, I tune out. And this movie would happen to be on TV one day, and I was like, yeah, this is fucking garbage. So I turned it off. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah,
Ain't it weird, man, that like the Beatles quit showing up for their own movies? Like, because Yellow Submarine, that's not their voices of them. You know what I'm saying?
I did not see Yellow Submarine yet, but I didn't know.
Yeah, like it's a cartoon talking about the Beatles and they're like, hey, Paul. It's not even them. It's not even their voices.
They weren't even voicing their
The
own.
fuck is that?
I did not know that because I haven't seen
No.
because I haven't seen it yet. You know that I saw Help and I saw Hard Day's
No,
Night.
they're like,
But...
I was gonna say they start out on Hard Day's Night, Criterion. Then they're like, we can't show up for our own movies, and like then there's Sergeant Pepper. They're not in that motherfucker either.
Well, so they had all the other ones. They had the one where you can't find it today is All This in World War II. A documentary on World War II, but in a goofy way and scored with music of the Beatles.
Wow,
that was an actual theatrical film from the 70s.
That's
All This in World War II. You can't find it.
That's surreal.
Yeah, that's one I do want to see, but kind of as like what Andrew was saying, like as a curiosity. You know,
Sure.
that just sounds too freaking weird. I have to see what that is. You know, but
And as far as Gone Girl goes, I was showing my age on YouTube because all the young YouTube reviewers were all like, "Oh my god, this movie! Oh, this is so awesome!" And I went to it and I was just like, I'd rather watch Basic Instinct.
Right.
I'm like, you guys did grow up at the time when there was the revenge films. I'm just watching this going, yeah, it was all right, but I'm like, everybody, and it's perspective because, we've had this discussion on one of the many episodes of the Spoiler Room, but we've had the discussion to where.
How many episodes, Mark? How many episodes?
200 in case you
Okay,
haven't been paying attention. But where some of the younger viewers haven't actually gone back to back catalogs and watched, previous films, like we have. So some of these films are new to them. And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, but Basic Instinct did it better.
And this felt, it felt so old hat to me. And I kind of, The Thriller, it's one of those movies where I kind of, it's like this buddy cop movies, stuff like that, where we had a glut of them growing up and now we don't have any of them. And I kind of miss them, now that we don't have any. I'm like, I just was saying we needed less. I didn't say we needed to cut them out entirely, guys. And I'm like, first you did this with westerns and musicals, and now this. But this just it felt so basic, It felt so by the book. But it's the twist that gets like it does not. No, the twist is stupid.
The twist at the end, I'm just like,
it's moronic.
Oh, okay. For me, at the end, I'm like, wow, you made me waste my time with this film now with this ending.
Yeah.
It's an ending of the film to where you're going, that's the payoff. That's the twist. I'm like sitting there going, that you didn't see, telegraphed like many movies. Yeah. Oh, we didn't see this coming. Yeah, I couldn't quite understand that. But then again, I was like that with La La Land. I wasn't, it was one of those where people were just going gaga over La La Land, and I enjoyed the first part of it. I'm like, okay, musical, modern, this is cool, they're doing well. But as the film went on, I'm like, this is all right. I couldn't, I maybe the hype killed it for me, but I was just sitting there going, this isn't maybe,
They were giving out free beer when I saw La La Land, and that still didn't.
Were they really?
Yeah. I do love La La Land, but Mark's criticism is legit. I just don't buy the only one I don't buy when I hear the criticism of La La Land. And I have a couple friends who believe this, and I love them, but they're wrong. And I don't buy the idea that it's a racist movie. I don't buy that.
Because the white guy explains jazz to everyone.
Because it's a white guy who's in the jazz. It's the white guy who's in the jazz. I'm like, do you know that the director is a white guy who's really into jazz? And and his last movie was Whiplash, who was about a white guy who was really into jazz. And he might just be a white guy who's really into jazz. And the idea was that but John Legend is seen as the bad guy. I'm like, the point of La La Land was this guy might be the main character, but the point is that he's wrong. Throughout the whole movie, he is wrong, dead wrong, until it is way, way, way too late. And so it's not like you're supposed to be listening to him and thinking like, yep, that is right on, man. Like, no, he's full of himself. He's an idiot. That's the point. So I didn't buy the whole idea that they're appropriating jazz and the black guy's the bad guy. I'm like, no, the black guy was the voice of reason.
Yeah, for me, I was just like, that didn't even bother me. I just kept thinking, man, Ryan Gosling has small ears.
He does. He's a little guy.
Thank you. No one else agreed. Like, I shouldn't be sitting here with a film and going, man, that guy's got small ears.
He's a funny looking guy. He's amazing. He has so much acting power that you sometimes forget what a tiny little guy he is. And so you're watching a movie say Only God Forgives, where he's constantly trying to fight somebody. I'm like, dude, you sure you want to do that? You're 4'5". And giving credence to what Mark was saying, it's not like you're going to hear somebody coming.
Andrew, did you say you weren't that impressed with La La Land, or?
Nope.
No?
I just, this is the wrong movie for the wrong time.
Yeah.
I just didn't. It didn't do. I like Whiplash, man. I did. I dug it. I was there with that. I thought it was very well done. Loved all the drumming stuff. As a drummer myself, I quite enjoyed. But yeah, La La Land, I was like, dude, I get it. I understand he likes musicals, and I get what he was trying to do. And I'm not saying that they didn't work hard and make those dances, you know what I'm saying, and all that.
No,
stuff.
yeah, that part. Yeah.
It just ain't the kind of movie for me. I just did. That wasn't the year that we were. You know what I'm saying? Just
yeah. Derek, how about you? I don't think this film's in your wheelhouse at all.
I loved Whiplash.
Yeah.
But I just needed to see the trailer to know that I wanted nothing to do with La La Land. It's just not my kind of movie.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm a big musical guy, but I think part of the hype was it. But I just sat there and I go, yeah. What got me, and here's what's funny, is this is supposed to be a bigger production, bigger money Hollywood film. And there's a specific scene, and people go, oh, well, you shouldn't just focus on that. I'm like, yeah, but it's one that just really took me out of the film, was they do this tracking shot through this party. And I think you guys, Scott and Andrew, you might know what I'm talking about. They do this tracking shot where they're kind of doing the music thing, and then I'm like, okay. And then they dive into the pool, and they're doing this spin thing with the pool. It looks like shit. The camera work looks like shit. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, this is how many $1 million film? And I'm like, this looks like someone took their waterproof camera and dove into the pool and just spun around. I'm like, I'm like sitting there going, this isn't what, that just took me out of the movie completely, that I wasn't already really invested in. And I know it might be petty. I know, but for me, I was just like, they could have done that so many ways, and they did it like that. I'm like, I know they're trying to get, you're a person in the pool. I'm like, still, come on.
You're a person in the pool.
That's what they're going for. I don't know. I'm not a filmmaker.
What's the point now? What were you trying to convey? The shot that there are people in the pool.
There's a person in the pool. You're the audience in the
pool. Surprise! I'm an artist.
Surprise, motherfucker!
But, that's stuff like that in bigger budget films. I guess that gets me a little bit. I don't mind it in smaller budget films, but some of that stuff, when you see shots like that, I'm like, oh, really? Come on. That's why I couldn't get into the Meg. Everybody was like, "Oh, the Meg's pretty good. The Meg's pretty good." I'm like, a lot of the CGI looked like it was done by Asylum Pictures. I'd rather watch that than pay. I'm like, this movie was how many hundreds of millions of dollars, and it looks like crap.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I when I'm going to see a movie and I see this as a trend a lot. This is something else, and it was actually one of the questions I was bringing, is that certain trends that you can't stand in movies that kind of take you out of it, and it's when they have poured all this money in the movie and you can tell that so much of it is computerized. Now, I get that they can do that they can use the computer to spice up shots or to do whatever they want, and that's great. But when you can tell moment to moment that's what they're doing, in their transitions, in the effects, we can't even have squibs anymore. The most basic special effect has to be CGI blood, or every piece of fire has to be this, or you can tell we're in the background. They've actually added trees or whatever. Whenever they do that, it takes, unless we're talking about a complete fantasy type movie, it takes me right out of it, and I get really, tired of it. I get kind of it takes me out of it, and it makes everything seem less special, because I'm like, yeah, you spent all the money and all you did was you put little keystrokes here, you added this to this and this to this, and you probably played around with 100 different iterations before you said, let's just do this. And it takes out, I think it takes out a lot of the, make it or break it attitude of filmmaking.
I haven't used this app in my Adobe Premiere toolbox.
Yeah,
Sorry. No offense to anyone who uses Adobe Premiere.
Dude, After Effects rules.
Hi, Brad.
Hi.
Glad you could join us as well. We were just talking about movies that make us so angry they want to make you punch you in the dick, or you punch someone in the dick.
Punch somebody in the dick.
Yes, that's taken from episode 100. So glad you could sneak in here.
Absolutely.
Andrew, were you able to think of a film that you were extraordinarily disappointed for, that you may not have wanted to punch someone in the genitals, but just you were like, oh man?
Yeah, I remember now. I had to think about it for a little bit. The last time I was really we got free pass to see an advanced screening of it was called Texas Chainsaw. There was no massacre.
Anybody the 3D one?
Yeah, it was 3D.
Oh
man, that shit. I mean,
Weak.
There was a part where Leatherface chases some people into a carnival, like one of those shitball, Friday night Walmart parking lot type carnivals. He's got a running chainsaw, and in my mind, I start thinking about all the things he could do there.
Yeah.
I mean, even basic, just start running around with the chainsaw. Or, the Ferris wheel gets a little low and he just waits for it. You know what I'm saying? It comes by. Or the merry-go-round and or the tilt-a-whirl. Somebody's like, oh, I'm going to throw up. The head comes off.
Is that a chainsaw or a creepy old guy that's looking at
no, he's got
just breathing heavily.
The old guy has chainsaw. It's really scary. It was. And then I'm thinking, or maybe a little Toby Hooper tribute they could do here. He could go into the fun house and, start doing that shit. But he doesn't even nick a motherfucker with this thing.
No.
Nobody gets hurt. He's running through this thing going, ooh, watch out. Hold on. Hey.
Watch your step. Careful.
Does no one see this thing is running? I'm about to get OSHA on you motherfuckers. He just leaves. He maybe touches the fence with it. I don't know.
Yeah, he cuts the fence with it, I think.
Yeah,
He throws it at the screen during that shot, during that sequence, doesn't he?
I believe I've blocked it. No. Just the end for me.
I don't blame you at all for that one. That one was tough. For me, what always stuck out for me was because it was the at the very end they got the final girl tied up, chained up, and they open but not completely her shirt, and they've got the chainsaw coming at her, and that shirt doesn't move.
There's a fucking tornado going on outside, for Christ's sake.
There's wind. There's the wind from the chainsaws blowing her hair, but that shirt never moves. And I'm like, just sitting here, really, guys? Why even go that far? You know what I mean?
Mark, not to be a pig, but let's be honest. Up to that point, the movie is nothing but bullshit. It's nothing but bullshit. You're like, give me fucking something here.
So I mean, that movie, I can understand that quite a bit with that film. And yet it made its money back almost its opening weekend, because they also promoted, that was the one too, where they're promoting that they were having the original cast, as many as they could back in the house, and they were revisiting, what happened at the house after the girl left. And they were promoting it up, and so they got all the fans in, and that was like such a weak opening with the family, where they went back in to the beginning of the.
I don't think that had anything to do with why it was made money back, though. I think they got the money back from the mainstream people just by the title, Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Yeah,
and
3D gimmick, man.
Which was when this was. I had to go back while you guys were talking. I looked back. I'm like, God damn, this movie's already 5 years old.
Yeah,
and this is when 3D was still happening as a big deal.
It was the gimmick,
and it's still happening, but now it's kind of like. Maybe the movie will come out in 3D. Maybe it won't. Who gives a shit?
But from now on, from episode 200 on, the spoiler room will now be in 3D audio.
Yeah, it means I'm going to be right in your face here. Yeah, I was looking back here. No, Texas Chainsaw, horrible. I had to look back. I'm like, didn't that hit like number 2? Like, yep, it would hit. One of my worst movies of that year, that was my number 2. So, I mean, I really hated that.
It made so much. It still made enough money, and that's why studios just crank these things out and not caring what at all they're really doing with these movies, because they're made with so much low budget. They make their money back in the opening weekend or within the first week, so they don't care. They're like,
well, horror movies are money in the bank. First of all, they take next to nothing to make. They're guaranteed returns, and the audiences are ridiculously loyal. Whether they're the huge fans or they're just people like, oh, let's go see a horror movie this weekend. It'll be fun. Oh my god, I'm really gonna have to turn my eyes on the screen. I get so scared.
Horrible sorority girls are seeing horror movies.
Yes, they are. And
yes, they are.
Yes, they definitely are. But when you go see them, and they're like guaranteed a good opening weekend and not much else. And so, they make it as easy money in the bank. And it's just a shame when it happens with something that you care about, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even though, honestly, looking back, I kind of have to look back. I'm like, okay, I guess there have been probably at least as many bad Texas Chainsaw movies as good Texas Chainsaw movies. But
you guys are almost selling me back on Texas Chainsaw: The Next Generation. So
no, that one I hated. I hated that one. I hated Leatherface.
See, I like Leatherface.
I actually do not mind the remake and the prequel.
Oh yeah.
I didn't love them, but I didn't hate them.
Yeah,
I thought they were okay.
Hey, Mark, do you have functionality in this gimmick to turn off Scott's microphone now, so we don't have to hear this bullshit anymore?
I can mute him.
I'm like,
he's talking some mad bullshit here.
I was wondering, how long is it going to be before I piss Derek off? So he's going to be like,
I'm trying to be civil here. I'm not trying to.
Episode 300. Things Scott has said that make you want to punch him in the dick.
I'm writing that down right now. So that's a good pick there, Andrew. I definitely can see that. That I think got me not angry, but I came out of it going, "Yep, they got my money. Damn it! Oh well." And it's Brad who kind of inspired this little theme that I worked into episode 200, and we knew Lucy made him. angry because of the 10% thing. But
Yeah.
has there been another movie that made you so angry, Brad, that you wanted to punch someone in the genitals?
Yeah, thinking about it, as much as I love a movie that makes you rethink the entire thing you watched, by the time we got to The Village, I wanted to punch M. Night Shyamalan in the dick. Honestly.
It's got a twist.
It just, at that point, it was like, when you get to the end, and spoiler alert, it's not taking place in the past. I felt betrayed. Honestly, I wanted my money back. Sure. I was so angry, and it was a great cast. I mean, Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, I mean, you had a bunch of great pieces in place, and then it's like, oh, they were just a bunch of assholes who thought that modern society sucked, so they created a big refuge. It was just awful. I did not like that.
Yeah, that twist too, but by that time M. Night was running on thin ice as it was, I think.
Well, no, he was like that wasn't the
or
Village.
Was that the follow up to the Sign? Because I didn't care for
it. Was the follow up to Signs, which I didn't like, but it made a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I absolutely loved Signs. I felt it was a wonderful film, and then to go to The Village, I'm like, God damn it! What happened here?
And didn't he go from The Village to
Lady in the Water?
That was Lady in the Water. That's right.
Yeah, that's when it was The Village and onward where he really started to flounder.
Yeah,
and now it could be argued that he's on top again because of Split, which I hate.
Made you punch someone in the dick.
Yeah, I almost do want to from that movie.
It's like. You got you had Signs, and to me, I enjoyed that film. Then you had The Village. Then you had Lady in the Water. Then you had The Happening. And then The Last Airbender, which was okay.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
And this is coming.
Act like it was a good movie.
And this is coming from somebody who never watched the show.
Hold on.
I didn't say it was a good movie. I said it was okay. If it's like I got a box of razor blades or I could watch this movie, you watch The Last Airbender.
Speak for yourself.
Hey, if I were given in one hand The Village and in the other hand The Last Airbender, I will watch The Village 500 million times before I watch Airbender once. And this comes from somebody who watched the entire anime series of The Last Airbender.
Anime was awesome.
And this is coming from somebody from my side who has never seen a single episode of the anime series. And I thought The Last Airbender was horrible. That's just, I'm not saying these are opinions, so nobody is right or wrong.
You didn't say
everyone's right. Everyone's wrong.
But it's like but yeah, I thought that movie was just crap. Village, I haven't seen it since like the theater. So, but what I remember thinking when I saw The Village was, well, there's going to be a twist because his last three movies there's been a twist.
Oh.
And the first one really took you by surprise. And then Unbreakable, which I think is his best movie, happened, and you're like, whoa, I didn't think he was going to do that again. Okay. Yep. And then you're kind of waiting for it with Signs, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what it is. And on my side, I said, that's kind of dumb. But, The Village happens, and I'm like, okay, they're going to do one. And I was watching the movie, and I kind of figured it out 45 minutes into the movie, I remember thinking. It's like, because there's these things in the woods, but you can't go beyond the woods. You can't do this. You can't do that. I'm like, is this in modern times? I just thought about that. I'm like, I'll bet you this is modern times. And when I kind of was thinking like, yeah, everything I'm seeing kind of points to this. Yeah, I don't think there's really a monster. When they were doing that, I was like, okay, now I think I can sit back and try to enjoy the rest of the movie. And I think that's what I did at the time. When I saw The Village, I'm like, yeah, it was pretty good, but I figured it out like halfway through it. It wasn't a big shock this time, probably because I was waiting for a twist, so I figured it out pretty quickly. And there I could just like go with the film's basic narrative, and it played okay. I didn't hate it, didn't love it, but I said, it was all right. But but I thought it was kind of. I didn't think it was. I always kind of thought it was kind of strange that it was. People were like so really mad at that revelation. I'm like, this one was kind of. There's a lot more hints about this than there was, like say, like in Sixth Sense or anything like that.
Well, Sixth Sense, yeah, they kick you after you realize that there were hints in that one.
Because no one else was doing anything like that at the time. Well, so you're like, geez. You look back on it and you're like, yeah, look at this.
So Derek, Day, take it you didn't care for Village either?
I love The Village.
Oh, do you?
I actually really like that movie, yes.
There you go.
Awesome.
I actually like it a lot. Yeah, no, I think there's genuine tension in the movie. The creature, quote unquote creature, is kind of cool looking. I haven't watched it in a number of years, but it's not even remotely as close to like the shittiness level of everything that came afterward. I mean, I saw the Lady in the Water, and I really didn't like that movie, and I didn't even bother with anything else past that. But The Village didn't bother me whatsoever. I actually kind of like that movie.
Andrew, how about you in The Village?
I went to see it.
Yeah,
I was on like I was on like
that was a thing.
I was on the Shyamalan train because I did really not think it was a good idea to build a career on basically, if I wanted to go play a game, I would have fucking done the crosswords. I would like to just watch a movie.
Right. Right.
And I think setting up the audience to be like, all right, I'm in my seat. I'm going to figure you out, movie. I'm going to be smarter than you, Indian man, because I'm racist, too. I hate you, so don't think you're smarter than me, brown person. I just don't think that's a smart way to set up a career or a marketing or whatever. But I do have a funny story about going to see The Happening.
Ooh.
That's the one with the plants?
Yes, right? That's the one with the plants.
Yeah, where love saves the world.
And I actually didn't think the plot of the Happening was really too bad. I actually thought, that's actually pretty solid. It's just how it was done. Yeah, how they did it was like, that was clumsy. So,
what's your story?
Sorry, go. Yeah.
So we're watching the movie, and I keep seeing microphones in the film near the bottom of the screen, tops of the screen, sides of the screen. I'm like going, oh shit, this whole thing is some TV show. I've got like Shyamalan brain on. I'm going, I'm figuring you out, movie. I gotcha. I see all your microphones. No. The projectionist, the dumb motherfucker, had the matting on. He had it on off. No one was supposed to have seen all of that.
Wow.
He had like the Dolomite boom mics up there.
Well, they shoot a movie and then they use you use the matting to cover up the, mic placement and all number of things. They just screwed up the projection, and so at the end of the movie, it's like the wind. And I'm like going, what about the fucking microphone? Oh my god, the matting.
That's the twist. That was the real twist.
Yeah. So, what he should do is just figure out a way to twist someone's nipples that watches the movie instead.
Like the Tingler.
How's he going to twist my nipple this time, Shyamalan?
It'd be like the Tingler. Every movie theater, you've got to attach nipple clips on, and then when certain time during the movie, they're just going to spin.
I thought, but I didn't go see. I didn't go see Lady in the Water, and there was another one I didn't go see, but I saw Split, and I saw A Quiet Place.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, he didn't do that movie. They just ripped him off. Oh, I'm sorry.
I liked it with the crazy granny. I liked this crazy.
I was going to say that. What did you guys think of The Visit?
That had a lot of doo-doo in it. That was funny.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it through that movie either. I think I watched like 15 minutes. I'm like, this kid's fucking rapping. I'm out.
Oh, yeah. But
I'm fucking out of this thing.
They'd already done the doo-doo, so I wasn't taking it seriously.
Yeah.
The twist was, you get to watch a kid rapping.
Yeah.
I think he was angry at white people when he made that, and rightly so.
Oh yeah,
for most of the time they're assholes.
The Visit I took as M. Night's middle finger to people.
Yeah, it really was. He was a little angry.
He was, because when I watch it, I'm like, wow, this is a wide release film with all this shit in it. You wouldn't have thought this would have been directed.
He was mad about that Airbender.
Yeah, he was.
That's
Like,
what
he didn't like
happens when
Airbender.
you take
Here's-
4
here's-
seasons of something and cram it into an hour and a half.
Here's Earbender.
M. Night Shyamalan gives you 90 minutes of crap. So the audience is like, oh, well, that's kind of what we were expecting. So
The thing is, I think he's a talented director. I think whatever reason, either agent or whatnot, got into his, because he had the twist with his big first hit. You know, he thought maybe that's what he had to do for every film he made since, which, I mean, we've seen that with some other young, directors who come out of the gate with like swinging, like just, knock it out of the park. And then their next film, everybody's like, oh, yeah, it's like you're doing,
or they get too ambitious. People say,
or they get too ambitious. So, no, with me, with The Happening, I just sat there and their whole logic of people killing themselves, did not jive with in the rule that they set up. I'm like, okay, the plants make you not care about your well-being or your physical well-being. That doesn't mean it's going to make you throw yourself off of a building. It just
don't
means
somebody
that,
get attacked by a tiger?
yeah.
That was kind of cool, no?
Well, I think that
sorry.
the real thing that was causing it was that Christopher Lee was up in space in a flying saucer, sending these beams down, and that's what was really making people kill themselves.
I knew it.
Oh, that's what it was.
Does anybody know that movie? Come on. Come on. That is actually the plot of Starship Invasions.
Yes, it is.
For our listeners out there who is wondering, like, oh, Scott's drunk.
No. You don't say. Oh, well, for me, you guys, over the course of our 200 episodes, many of our listeners have heard me rage and well, I try not to. I try to stay a little positive, but no, there's a few movies out there that made me angry. And the one, and I'll just bring it up briefly. I've brought it up in the past, but for me, it's still to this day, and people just try to justify it. People are saying this, and I God bless them, but for me, I just can't. And I revisited it twice, and that was the Psycho remake.
Oh, no. Terrible.
And I just, it was just one of those, that movie took me 3 times to try to get through. And even at the end, I was like, oh, I'm angry. I'm just, just about as angry as I was with Vacation. Not quite as much. Vacation was just more like, wow, okay, they just shit all over the original film. This one, though, it just, and maybe it's because Psycho is one of my all-time favorite films as well. But, what got me with that film was that the big hook was, we're doing shot-for-shot remake, which I'm like, wow, okay.
Why?
Yeah, why?
That's it. Yeah, why do they do this?
And I actually got into a little debate online. Oh, we're gonna leave that in it. Sorry about that. We'll leave that in.
That's okay. I've been sneezing I've been sniffing and sneezing all night, so he gets a shot at it.
I got into. I had to avoid the deep discussion because I found myself getting into it. Like, no, Mark, just back away from the internet slowly. Go play some video games, okay? Because I got in a discussion and someone was bringing it up about the one scene which was really the one scene that pissed me off. It wasn't just the opening shot in the beginning where the couple's in their rendezvous hotel room and it sounds like it's a set of a porno film because got like people moaning everywhere. And I'm like, you don't need that. It's set up as you don't need to know that this is the no-tell motel, but they put in the sound effects, but it's still shot for shot. We get to Norman Bates and she's in her room and we get to the scene where he takes the painting off and he's looking through the hole.
Yep. Okay, I know where this is going.
He's looking through the hole. In the original, Norman looks through the hole and observes her. Creepy. Got it. Your brain is going about what's going through his brain. In the remake, they do the shot exactly the same way, but they add the sound effect of him dropping his pants and beating off. And I'm like, you've lost me. I'm like, it was at that point of the film right there. I'm like, you totally missed the point of Norman's character. I'm like, Mother would never let him do it. I'm like sitting here going, that just ruins that character.
Well,
And then you get to the most famous scene, and Andrew, unfortunately, I haven't gotten to that documentary yet that you pointed out, but I've been trying to get to it because it sounds awesome. The most famous scene, the shower scene. Then you decide to take artistic license with the most famous horror scene ever. I mean, that got me then there too. I'm like, okay, he's stabbing her, and now wait, why is there a bird there? Wait, why are we seeing maggots? What the fuck? You know? And then it happens again later on when William H. Macy's character, who was great casting, I loved him as the PI. Same thing. They do shot for shot remake until the death, and all of a sudden there's crows and snakes and all these morbid. I'm like, why? Why'd you do that? Why? It made me cry.
Do you really want answers to these questions, or are you just crying out into the internet dark?
No, Andrew, if you got them, I really wanted, because it frustrated the hell out of me that here it's a shot for shot remake, yet then they do artistic integrity, and I understand it may be tough to replicate those moments, but I don't know. Please tell me. Yes, talk me down from the edge.
Well, first of all, you sound genuinely freaked out, and me and you have talked about this movie before.
Yes.
What did I tell you? Do you remember?
I don't remember offhand. I apologize.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm glad to know that I tried.
It had an impact.
So it's possible that nothing I say is going to get through how upset you were. Is Psycho your favorite movie?
Psycho is one of my very top favorite movies, yes.
So do you identify with Norman Bates, or?
Here it comes. Here it comes.
No.
Do you Hitchcock was a huge pervert.
Yes, that I realize.
He probably, the sound effects they dubbed in of Vince Vaughn's pants hitting the ground and all the stuff was probably taken from a hidden mic on the set of the actual shower scene when Hitchcock was filming it. He took 2 weeks to shoot that because he had a booner the entire time. I mean, this is it's gross. Like, he was a gross guy. Mm-hmm. And so I think the remake was probably closer to what he would have made if he could have. That's what I think.
There's a little bit of that in there. And actually in the documentary they do explain why they cut out the shower scene. We're talking about the one I can't remember the name of the documentary. It's actually the number of seconds and the number of shots.
78:52.
Yep. That's the one. Yep. Okay, yeah, they actually explain why they changed it up. Is that when they actually went to do that thing, they couldn't replicate the pacing or something of it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I saw the Psycho remake once, and it's of course just they did it for just to do it, and I don't think there was any deep meaning behind it, and they knew it wasn't going to be some classic or anybody was really super impressed. It was just kind of an exercise, an interesting thing to have done. But it was watching 78:52 and hearing the interviews with the editor and them talking about having that made me want to go back and watch Psycho again. I hadn't seen it since the theater. Right. And I actually bought it and dug into the commentaries and all that stuff. I became fascinated with what they had done. And so rather than being pissed about, which you'd be within your right to be pissed, I can't think of a movie I like enough to where I would be angry at the remake. But then again, it's art, so whatever. But I do my viewpoint on what they've done definitely changed because otherwise, why would you do that? It's a classic. Right. Why would you didn't come to change anything? What is it you were actually doing? Well, it was I have remade the shower scene. I've done it. Dee and I made a film called Travel Size, and we remade it ourselves, and it was just incredible. You get a more of appreciation for Psycho as a filmmaker when you try to do it, and I think a lot of times with remakes and stuff, people are like, oh, I'm going to do it better, or I'm going to do my version. The idea of trying to replicate it was really to show the mastery of Psycho. And I think that it doesn't make the remake look bad. I think that everyone really kind of learned something, and if you watch it, you'll learn something too.
The thing of going back to the shower scene and the sound effect, I was taken you just like took me back 20 years when you were discussing that, because this is a discussion I had, old friend that I had in college, and it was my next door neighbor and everything, Todd O'Dowd, great guy. We were incensed by this remake, and he was so upset by that, and he said that was the part that it lost him as well, was when you hear the sound. And the reason was, they says that completely misses the point of the characters, is that Norman Bates is impotent. There's no way he could start to pleasure himself. He couldn't feel anything. His climax comes with the murder.
Mm-hmm.
With each stab, each thrust, that penetration, that is his climax. Not having him beat off behind the wall for no reason at all. Mm-hmm. And that was his theory on that, and it's a theory I personally agree with.
Yeah.
Except for Hitchcock, that was his actual sounds from on the set. Have you seen the Hitchcock movie, the one with Anthony Hopkins and Helen Mirren?
I have not seen
Hitchcock.
That was like Here and Gone before I could see it.
I did, and I loved it, and yet I realized recently that I have a hard time remembering a lot of it.
I would say, dude, watch 7852 if you're a Psycho fan. You got to.
It's on my list.
It's a good movie. I think I saw it on Hulu. I think
every time I see it come up in discussions, I think of Andrew, and I'm like, Andrew told me I need to watch this. I gotta watch this. But
it's a good one, man. And the Hitchcock movie was very interesting. Again, huge pervert. You'll see that. And Hitchcock Truffaut also, which is a documentary they made about the book, great book, about where he interviews Francois Truffaut interviewed Hitchcock. I would say, yeah, as a fan. And the thing is, like I said, I had forgotten Gus Van Sant even did that. Yeah. But then when I saw that documentary, I was like, oh, word? And they were talking about it. I'm like, oh, let me go back. And then I did. And I didn't really say, oh, word. That was an accident because it's very late here in Georgia.
It's okay. I appreciate you guys all hanging in there. I know it's late. I appreciate this, but
I'm not working tomorrow.
Derek, did you see the Psycho remake? Derek, did you see the Gus Van Sant Psycho remake at all? Or
of course I did.
You did.
Yeah.
Did how did you feel about it? I mean,
it entered my ocular cavities
and left.
Promptly exited through my ears or somewhere, maybe the top of my head. It didn't rummage around. I'm like, that was interesting. And then I never thought about it again. It was pointless. There was, especially coming from such an amazing director.
Yeah.
That it just was. It didn't make sense to me, and I didn't give it much thought. It felt more like an exercise, like somebody was just experimenting. Like let's see if we can do this. We tricked somebody into giving us money for this. Let's see if we can do this.
Yeah, this was before crowdfunding, so they actually got some investors in on it. So.
Right, and it wasn't a ton of money. I think it was like $11 million, something like that.
Yeah, it was a low budget.
Which was fairly low. It was the mid-budget movie, which doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But the thing is that I was, again, why? I'll say this. The one thing you will hear me in defense of my worst movie of all time that I was talking about before, if you're going to make a bad movie, very few people set out to make a bad movie, at least on a budget like that. But if you're going to, go for the rafters, make something that really stands out. Why would you just say, yeah, we just thought, we don't have anything better to do, let's just do this? I am totally behind that. If you're like, picking up a camera and going, I think that actually, hell, and not to put you on the spot, Andrew, but you've done that a few times with your company there, and it is and the results have been great. You know, but you didn't say like, okay, we're going to go in with a plan and we're going to take this money that the studio is giving us, and then we're just not going to really care what we do. There's a huge difference there. I think care about what you're doing. Care about what you're doing, and that means means all the difference. And I just don't think anybody who made that movie honestly cared. And I kind of take offense at it when you treat the audience with that much contempt, with saying like, "What, you were entertained? What, we gave you an hour and a half. What more do you want from us?" Like, well, we want something that comes from your goddamn heart. Yeah. I don't care if what's coming from your heart is a romantic comedy or a horror film or a drama or some movie about a guy with explosive gas. But at least I want to think like, you know what? But he felt that shit. You know,
there's deep meaning in the explosive gas man.
Well, there is.
Brad, did you see the Psycho remake?
No, because there's no point to it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't remake greatness. You just don't.
And like I said, I try not to be negative. This was just the one film that stuck with me, and I totally see everyone's point who have tried to defend it, but at the same time, I'm just like, for me, I guess I got something else out of the movie than some other people did, and I may try to revisit it again. I'm going to check out the documentary soon, hopefully, of that scene, because it sounds like Andrew's talked it a number of times, and I've been meaning to get to it. So.
Just as a movie fan, there's a few documentaries just based on the things that you and I have talked about that I know like are interesting to you. The movie Side by Side also you probably might want to check out.
Yeah, that was good.
And maybe even Visions of Light, which is about cinematography. I would recommend that one as well. That one's amazing. Actually, if they don't show that in fucking film schools, then something's really wrong.
Well, I thank you for sharing films that disappointed you, and again, sorry for my rant, but yeah, just for some reason that Psycho one just stuck with me for so long because I think I remember it the most because there's very few films where I've physically turned the movie off and thought about not revisiting it, because usually I watch all the way through whatever I start watching, I will finish. That's just the way I am. If I start watching it, I have to finish it. I can't just stop and not come back to it. And this one took me 3 times, and it's the only film that it took me like 3 times to get through. So I think that's why it also stuck with me so hard over the years. So, so I think we've gone really long here. I want to go real quick because it is episode 200. I just want to go down our panel real quick and see if you guys got any thought either on the show, on where it's come from, and what you'd like to see in the next 100 episodes. So, Derek, let's start with you. We'll just go down the line.
I would like to see you start an exclusive series of episodes purely on fetish porn. Nothing but fetish porn, Mark. I want the Spoiler Room to turn into a smut-filled podcast, and I want it to be mostly about anuses.
Oh no!
Can you make the movies about anuses, please? I would like to see that on your podcast.
Oh, all right.
Wow, that took a turn.
You asked me, God.
Anus films. Sounds like a production studio.
It's like, oh, look at that autocorrect. I always thought it was full of an eye.
You can call it like backdoor productions.
Anus Films and Backdoor Productions brings you the Spoiler Room.
No, Mark, you're
gonna get a lot of really weird sponsors.
Yeah. Please, can you in the metadata and the keywords? Can you please put anus?
Okay.
Anus pictures?
Yes, I'll go on my SEO tag. Yes.
No, seriously, Mark, you're doing just fine. You've done 200 episodes of these. Why would you need me to tell you or like recommendations for what to do going forward? You got this. So
thank you, sir.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing, dude.
Brad, how about you, sir? You've been in and out of the Spoiler Room since the beginning, sir. And it's been a long journey, but
it has been. And I'm trying to think much like Psycho, don't overthink the thing. Don't redo the thing. It's working. It's good.
Yeah.
Stay the course, man. Stay the course.
Thank you, sir. We will try. Well, I'm always looking for something new and trying to keep things fresh too. So, Well,
anuses might keep it fresh.
Well, in one sense,
That's not what I heard.
What kind of anuses are you hanging out with? This is the question.
Apparently, the dirty ones.
Very, very.
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh,
You're welcome.
thank you.
Moving on.
Andrew, how about you, sir?
Why? I only talk to you about movies on the internet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just everybody else I talk to about movies, I just don't. Like, I don't like talking about movies on the internet. I don't like reading people's thoughts about movies on the. I just don't. I think if anything, I would just say, retain that enthusiasm. If you have good things to say about movies, make that your thing. Because if you're concerned about standing out or being unique or having a voice or being anything different, that's how you're going to do it. Don't be a piece of shit, and don't let the pieces of shit make you feel like you're doing something wrong, because ultimately none of this stuff's going to matter with what they say. I don't care what they think. I've got nothing. I don't. They're wasting their time. They're wasting your time. They're wasting everyone's time with their garbage. I loved our episode about Planet of the Apes, especially that War for Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how come I can't sound this smart on my own podcast? God damn it. Mark really brings the good questions and the good discussions and asks great questions. I was like, fuck, what? I sound smart on Mark's show.
You are smart. So.
I was like, why do I sound like a dipshit in my, you know what I mean? So, I've dug that, and I just, if occasionally I could still be a guest, that would be cool. But mostly I'd say, yeah, don't change, and don't let the other people's reactions or non-reactions affect the way you do things. Because I'm a fan, I enjoy it.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. And Scotty D, how about you? See, I stopped you calling you Baby Spice. So
I don't. I miss Baby Spice.
You
I took great pride in it. I loved it. I would tell people, I'm like, hey guys, yeah, I was on the show. They're doing the Spice Girl. Guess which one they call? Oh, Baby Spice. I'm like, got everybody? Okay. Apparently, it was a mystery to me and no one else. But it wasn't a huge revelation, apparently. But I don't know. You're gonna keep going with this, all right? Your funeral, but
Wow.
no. But all kidding aside, I think Andrew. I'm usually the talkative, really talkative here, but
what?
Honestly, Andrew said it. Yeah, Andrew said it all.
Thank you.
Go with your heart. Go with your heart. Do it. Do what you love doing. Go in creative directions that you want to go in, not because you think, not because you. And I don't think we have to worry about this, but not because of what other people are saying you should do, or what you thinking the other people want you to do. Do what you want to do. I think we pretty much guaranteed that no one's making money off of YouTube anymore. So, I mean,
I didn't make money when YouTube was paying out. So.
I know, right? So just go with your heart, man. I think that it's served you well for 200 episodes. Not only are people still listening, you still have people. I'm personally speaking for myself. I'm just pathetic, and that's why I keep on coming back. Anybody who will have me, thank you so much. but I mean, you've got some great people in your corner, and I think that speaks volumes to how well you're doing. So I would just keep on doing what you're doing, buddy, and. Yeah, I'm sure that there are going to be another 100 episodes. If you've got the drive for it, I think it's there for you.
Well, I've got the bug, and what keeps me going is you guys. and all of our guests and the crews who haven't been able to be here. Little sappy, I know, but it's true that you guys motivate me, give me perspective. I love what's brought to every show. You know, we mix the crew up a little bit, and the perspective, everyone here, plus any crew member who's been on, has given me a different food for thought for a film. And we've even done it tonight on today's extra long episode. I've got food for thought, and it's because all of you and your support, I keep doing this, and it means a lot to some crazy movie fanatic who is probably in the location that is the furthest away from anything movie anywhere. Central Wisconsin is like, yeah, it's one of those things. So to have a group of people like this, and you guys keep seeming to want to come back on the show for some reason, which it means the world to me. I didn't think I'd be doing 200. I didn't think I'd be doing 100 of these when we first started out. And I've got a lot more ideas, and we're going to keep going. And I appreciate you guys so far taking this journey. And we got a lot more stuff coming. So enough of that. I want to thank you guys tonight for the extra long episode, for popping in. Thank our listeners. We actually grow every day. I check. I do this all myself too. By the way, the RSS feed I make myself. I do the feed burner. I host it on my own webpage. I don't do any podcast service. And somehow on our RSS feed, we have kind of held steady at about 170 to 178 regular RSS subscribers.
Nice.
For our podcast. So I don't know what we're getting for downloads or anything, but for that gauge, that means a lot to me. So my listeners out there, thank you so much for coming back every week and listening to us talk about films with all these fantastic people who sound a hell of a lot smarter than I do. And I appreciate every single one of you out there. And yeah, so episode 200, we'll put a cap on it. This is the part where you get a license to shill. Everybody gets to go down and promote whatever the hell they'd like to promote. And we will start with Derek.
I have really nothing to promote. I come on Mark's podcast because he's a good bud of mine. And for some reason, he thinks I have something to say about movies. So if you want to go listen to me talk about things that aren't movies, mostly a lot of yelling and screaming, you can go listen to my podcast, All the Gimmicks, with my bud Seth. Occasionally we talk about movies, but mostly we don't. All the Gimmicks. It's on Facebook. It's on iTunes. It's on Stitcher and all that shit. Otherwise, listen to Mark's podcast. He talks about movies.
Thank you. Brad, I know you got something to plug.
No.
You don't?
Just kidding.
None of us are going to shill tonight.
I am apparently full of shit still.
You're the last person standing. Everybody else is retired, man.
I still do Adventure Party on YouTube, and also the Alien Invasion, and you can go to gncasts.com to check out our stuff.
Awesome.
Boom.
And Andrew, please let us know what you've got for our listening public out there.
Okay. So if you got Amazon Prime, go to amazon.com/V as in vagina /Gonzorific, GONZORIFFIC. Lots of movies that my friends and I have made here in Athens, Georgia. And coming up November 2nd and 3rd, we have our annual Underground Movie Show, which is all the new stuff that we have made. We will be showing The Bloody Brides of Bad Girl Dracula, and we'll be showing Vincent Price's Skull, and just a whole bunch of other weird things that we've made over the past year. So if you're not in Athens, go to our Amazon Prime landing page and watch some other stuff. We get 6 cents for every hour that you watch.
Kablow.
Boom.
So there you go, folks. Definitely check that out. Thank you, Andrew. And Scotty D, even though it hasn't been updated, you still got something out there.
I do. It hasn't been. I keep on meaning to do it. Before it was because I was busy with the move, and then there was like this whole thing about like kind of getting motivated again. Now I really want to, and I'm kind of in the middle of a health thing that I won't get into. But one day, hopefully, I will update my website. But it is still there. It's called movieocrity.com, and you can read a lot of my reviews, see links to some of the podcasts I've been on over the years, including ones by Mark and by Derek here. And there's also a web series I did called Movieocrity that hopefully I'll revisit one day. It's on YouTube, but I always tell people the best place to go is Vimeo because they still have every single episode up there, unlike those crappy people at YouTube who try to ban me from every place. So go to vimeo.com/channels/movieocrity for the show, and then movieocrity.com for the reviews.
And to translate that means they show the boobies on Vimeo. So
they show the boobies on Vimeo, and you don't. Oddly enough, it's not meant for kids, but Vimeo. But I'm still allowed on Vimeo where there is not an age gate. So.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for the. I know we went long tonight, but I appreciate it. Made it a little extra special with it being number 200. And here's to the next coming 100. Appreciate every single one of you. Yeah, now just say goodnight, gentlemen.
Good night.
Good night, gentlemen.
Hey, all my friends out there looking for more Spoiler Room goodness? Then why don't you check out our brand new Patreon page, patreon.com/specialmarkproductions, where you can get access to exclusive Spoiler Room episodes and a whole lot more. You can also find us on Facebook groups at SMPRD and on to Twitter at SpecialMarkPro. Let your voice be heard and let us know what you would like to see in the Spoiler Room, as well as just how we're doing in general. We appreciate your support, and remember, in the Spoiler Room, the conversation is fresh, but we do spoil the movies.